Update. Am I the a-hole for calling divorce immediately after finding out my wife emotionally cheated on me? Original post. I found out my wife was cheating on me emotionally last week. I found it through a notification when she was in the shower. We are both 33 and married for 6 years. In my eyes, everything was good. Funny how one can hide their betrayal without other party noticing. I confronted her right away and told her to open the phone to show me the messages. She refused first, but gave up after I told we are getting a divorce. The texts were not that old, and there were not many. It was obvious most of the texts were deleted. I asked her questions about the affair. Why, who, where, how. I will not go into details as I want to stay anonymous, but I was trickle-truthed in the end. She got caught and trickle-truthed me. I do not believe her in what she said about the extent they went. At the beginning of our relationship, I made it very clear that cheating in any form is a relationship ender. I told her to get a lawyer because we are getting divorced. She asked for marriage counseling, promised to change, and even make her life completely dependent on me, leave the job, not leave the house, and give me all of her digital devices. I told her where marriage counseling would help was before she decided to have an affair. We could go to marriage counseling and solve the problem there by talking whichever problem she had. Instead, she went on to have an emotional affair and made sure to actively hide things from me by deleting texts and trickle-truthing. I reminded her my boundaries and what I told her about them in the beginning of the relationship. I will hand the divorce papers to her this month, and she is telling me to reconsider. Am I the a-hole in this situation? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. You clearly stated a boundary and what the consequences would be. Now she's shocked that you actually meant what you said. Divorce her and get her out of your house. You clearly stated a boundary and what the consequences would be. Just wanted to add, this is a pretty universal boundary that you don't have to state to expect your partner won't cross. Even if you never have a convo about cheating, it's still reasonable to end a relationship. Agreed. There are boatloads of things you shouldn't have to explicitly tell your boyfriend or girlfriend not to do. I've never explicitly told my wife to not stab me, but I'm pretty confident that she's able to figure out that doing so is wrong, and that I will divorce her if she does so, and I survive. Likewise, I don't have to explain to her how divorce will be the result if she cheats in any way. Not the a-hole. The trickle truth is the problem that makes reconciliation a non-starter. You can't trust her. All the things she's willing to do now are band-aids. Who wants to be married with someone who can't have a life outside of you because they may cheat again? She made her choice. Don't let her drag out the inevitable. This. If they come to me and confess, I may consider at least listening. If I had to dig out oak roots to get the full story, you can't repair the damage. This is exactly why I got divorced. The cover-up was worse than the crime. I don't need to spend the rest of my life playing Nancy Drew. Also, let's not forget the quitting her job and never leaving the house means if they get divorced in the future, he'd probably owe her alimony since she no longer has her own income. Also, this seems like such an interesting and extreme response. Like you'll quit your job and never leave the house? Why? Like what person would be like, yeah, okay, you're in house arrest now. You're a housewife? It makes it seem like she's offering a dramatic solution like she's just throwing spaghetti at a wall to see if it sticks. I don't know. It just kind of strikes me as putting it back on the other person to be the bigger and better person by saying, oh no, you don't have to quit your job and stay at home all the time. So in order to not cheat and prove her loyalty, she proposes this probably outlandish entire lifestyle change to ensure she won't cheat or something. It makes him the bad guy even if he agrees to her proposed solution. It's scary, especially because you had to be so persistent to get whatever truth you did find. I feel like you just never know with these types of people. What all would they hide if they could? It breaks the whole trust. It's your marriage, so if you want to work on it, I would understand. But if you feel so clearly about it, anyone would understand wanting to divorce. It's the deleting and the withholding info and the trickling. I'm so sorry. I've been married for 36 years. Trust and love are the currencies of a successful relationship. If you don't think that you can ever trust her again, then leave. If you still love her, want to save the marriage, then try therapy. Only you know what you feel strongest about. I wish you luck and joy. As someone who has been married almost 30 years, I 100% agree. Trust is a critical pillar of a successful relationship. Without it, it fails. Only question is when and how much pain you want to go through. Now for the update. It's 100% divorce now. I think I was looking to relax and validate my logic with that post. Love is there, but trust is broken. My heart told me to have a hope, but my logic told me to divorce. Logic won in the end. It has been over a week now and I still do not get the full information about the affair. Yesterday night and this morning, after the post, I came to learn new information about the affair, and I am still not sure if it's the full extent. To clarify the emotional affair part, they texted, sent nudes to each other, and there were I love yous involved. If it's not cheating, I do not know what it is. Whatever, I still do not know the full truth and she refuses disclosing who exactly this affair partner is. My trust level for her is so low that she could say sky is blue and I would doubt it. This relationship is just over. Dead. I will go ahead with the divorce as soon as possible so I can process my feelings alone after she leaves. Some people told me I would not be able to find anyone at 33 as a male. This is the last thing I worry about after divorce. First thing is to get over the relationship and put myself together better than ever. I'm planning to start individual therapy right after I sort things out. I can date after that easily. Hope seeing you with a happy divorce update and in a better mood. She won't tell you who the affair partner is, probably to protect him and is still choosing him, but she has the gall to ask you to not divorce? She's still hiding details, and most likely those details are the physical aspect of the affair. I highly doubt they were telling each other the I love yous without there being physical cheating going on. You are absolutely making the right decision. She won't tell you who affair partner is, but you have his nude pics he sent your wife? That should help identify him. Oh yeah, just go around at her work, asking blokes to drop their trousers and inspect their junks. I can't imagine why anyone would say that bit about being 33. Ignore that crap. The other guy must be married if she won't divulge. Sounds like you've made the right decision. If you do find out who Loverboy is, out him. Good luck. I read that and was thinking I must be screwed then as I'm a 32 female who's been single for a while. Must get started on becoming the old cat lady, haha. It's crazy cat lady. If you're going to plan accordingly. She's not disclosing the affair partner because it's someone close enough for you to have access to him and possibly the whole truth. I'm very sure you know this guy. She's also not disclosing because she's not planning on ending the affair at all. They plan on going below the radar and simply will get better at deceiving. Because they have easy access to each other. Anyway, her not being completely open bar for him means that there's no working through this. Should you even wish? Prepare to be hurt pretty bad when you find out who he is. After the divorce, they'll be out in the open in no time. Making that decision and sticking to it is very difficult. You've made a first step, and that's amazing. You probably will never find out the full truth. I'm divorcing my wife now for very similar circumstances. You'll find someone else at 33. There's literally billions of fish in the sea. I totally agree. 33, looking good, feeling good, earning good, attentive. The amount of people in that thread who have no idea what emotional cheating even means really shows that when you come to Reddit for advice, you are largely receiving advice from 13-year-olds with almost no life experience. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend she's a gold digger after she refused a prenup? I, 28 male, and my fiancé, 26 female, have been dating for 5 years. We met during college and have been inseparable ever since. I currently run my own catering business while she works as a financial advisor. During our relationship post-college, I've been earning quite a bit more than her, and for the most part, I'm completely fine with it. I pay for all our household expenses and didn't really expect her to contribute anything. She wants to go back to college to get her master's, so I've always told her to save up for college and I would take care of the rest. She's genuinely the love of my life. She's smart, charismatic, gorgeous, and is extremely kind and patient with me. From the moment I've been dating, I felt like she was going to be best I was ever going to have. So regrettably, I started treating her as such. I bought her lavish gifts, took her in fancy dinners, and the more my business flourished, the more I would spoil her. A month ago, during our trip to New York, I proposed to her. Up to that point, that was the best day of my life. But the devil had other plans for me, I guess. As soon as we came back from our vacation, the crap storm started. She started looking for venues and took the charge in planning our wedding. I was genuinely happy and couldn't wait. But when I saw the price of our dream wedding, I started to question everything. With the venue and everything else, it totaled to $400K. I mean, seriously? Initially, I thought she would pay for a chunk of it, since she had massive savings by now. But when I asked her, she told me it was my duty as a man to pay for the wedding. We got into a huge argument that evening, and I went to stay at my parents' house. Told them everything. I know I earn well, but there was no way I was spending $500,000 on a wedding. My parents were on my side and told me that their friend who plans weddings would give me an offer for a much cheaper wedding. In the meantime, I should ask my fiancé for a prenup. They told me they always had suspicions of her being with me because of money. They never told me since, in their words, their precious boy was so happy, and it wasn't their place to tell me how to spend my money. I called her that same evening and told her that I was getting someone else to plan our wedding. She initially seemed hesitant, but later relented and agreed, and then apologized for planning such an outlandish wedding. I went home the next day and dropped the second bomb on her. I wanted a prenup. At this, she wasn't so easily defeated. She went into a full-on mental breakdown, calling me emotionally abusive and a manipulative a-hole. I clearly told her that I have been paying for everything, and as a result, she has a lot of savings. I told her that her refusing was a deal breaker for me. I told her that I was blindsided by her behavior all these years, because I genuinely loved her to death. She then told me that I earned much more than her, and it was unfair for me to deny her any part of it as my wife. I just called her gold digger and to GTFO of my house. She's currently staying at her parents'. Her mother has been blowing up my phone, telling me that I shouldn't have proposed something so selfish to her, and that calling her a gold digger really hurt her feelings. She then demanded an apology from me. I haven't bothered responding. To me, this whole situation is insane. Don't get me wrong, I still love my fiancé to death, but this whole saga really opened my eyes to how spoiled and entitled I made her. I feel like I enabled her behavior, and maybe I was wrong for blindsiding her with everything. Don't get me wrong, I'm still asking for a prenup, but I feel like I should apologize for dumping everything on her at once. Should I apologize? Am I the a-hole here? Edit. I never expected such a massive response. Thank you so much. I know I could have handled things much differently and set clear boundaries to begin with, but again, I was just blindsided with love. I justified her behavior as just a thing I had to, as a man. We live in a quite conservative country where typical gender roles are preached. And no, we don't live in the US, so please stop with the baby trap and child support comments. And to those confused about my company, I and my best friend started running ghost kitchens here in Europe across a few countries. When people ask what I do, I usually say catering since it's much easier to explain. I also want to apologize for my poor English. It's not my first language. Now for the top comments. My wife and I still lose sleep over paying off our $30,000 wedding. She's insane. I know someone else that did a $30K wedding. Took them years to pay it off. And what do you really get out of it? One night of food and drinks and photos that you look at once every 10 years. This is why I'm team backyard wedding. You can still have food and take pictures and have it be the greatest day of your life with all the people you love for like $500. To me, it's so stupid to spend money on a one-day event when that money would be much better spent on a down payment for a house or expenses for our future children. She has lots of savings, but won't pay for anything and wants you to stump up $500,000 because you're the man? If it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Anyone who says you need to obligate yourself to do this for me because of your gender is a roaring piece of turd. Not the a-hole, but I'm not sure there is a chance to recover from this. When people show who they really are, believe them. Last story. Am I the a-hole for laughing at my wife's friend's 30s female dating logic? I, 30s male, laughed at my wife's 30s female friend, 30s female. Long story short, my wife and her friend were talking about her friend's dating success. Overhearing her friend's logic, and I let out a chuckle. Her friend then wanted to know what I found so funny. I told her that she shouldn't be surprised that the men she rejects don't want to be friends. And that as people age, they have less time for just friends and want to find someone to settle down with. So she shouldn't take it personally. She then countered that if they, the man she rejected, really wanted to win her heart, they should stay friends and win it slowly over time. I told her that there's no man in their 30s that would want to play that game. And that like she didn't owe them a date, they didn't owe it to her to stay around. No matter how good a friendship was and how sad it made her. This must have struck a nerve as she called me an a-hole. So am I? Was my delivery of what I considered sounded basic logic just bad? Nope. They're being honest with their intentions. She isn't. Exactly. What woman in her right mind wants a man to play the "I'm going to pretend to be your friend but only for as long as it takes to try to win you over romantically" game? This lady is nuts. She wants to be manipulated about her romantic interests and intentions and have them pretend they want a no-benefits friendship when that's the last thing they want? WTF? Dudes reading this post, please don't think the average woman is into this. Being platonically led on only to discover sexless friendship wasn't a long-term plan/desire after all. And it was all a ruse to play the victim of being friend-zoned when it doesn't get you in her panties. We absolutely hate this nonsense. And like the guy I'm replying to said, it's manipulative. 100%. It's like that girl who did a TikTok once how she said to a dude she was dating, "I don't think this is going anywhere." He agreed, and they broke up. And she then filmed a video saying, "Why didn't he try? I can be manipulated into staying with you." And all that nonsense about fight for me when the relationship is going nowhere, etc. Be honest about your intentions from the start and avoid chaos. Not a-hole. It's hard making friends with people at all once you're over 30, let alone maintaining new friendships with people you've met for no more than a handful of hours. She has unrealistic expectations of how hard people are willing to try for a mere chance at a relationship sometime down the road. And it sounds like she's hard work and potentially playing games with them. We are also consistently telling men that maintaining a friendship with the sole hope of turning it romantic is also disrespectful. The man she wants to play her game is also more likely to be a creepy a-hole. She'll catch one of these guys eventually, and then constantly complain to her friend about how her boyfriend is a jerk. Update. Am I the a-hole for throwing my brother's prison trauma in his face to prove a point? Original post. My brother has always been an angry, hot-headed thug. Since he was a small kid, he showed violent behavior, idolized gangs, and would just generally be a prick to everyone. He's the kind of guy that goes on about respecting him and tries to intimidate everyone just because he can. When he was a teenager, it escalated dramatically, and our parents tried whatever they could to fix it. He started using drugs when he was 16. By the time he was 19, he went to prison for 2 years. Prison changed him. After he got out, he was not the same guy. He flinched when you touched him, slept with the lights on, and added an extra lock to the door of his room when he stayed with my parents. He was broken. He eventually had a full-blown mental breakdown where he started talking about what happened. It was about as bad as you expected. His combative nature isolated him day one and made him a target for all kinds of abuse this entire sentence. He's been in therapy for years. He's 32 now. He went back to school, met a nice woman, and is actually turning his life around. Our relationship isn't perfect, and it will never be fully healed, but he's trying to actually be a human being. The problem has been the last couple months. You can see it on his face, the way he acts. He's slowly going back to his old ways. He acts aggressive around mom and dad. When he's out, he tries to pick fights again. The people he hangs around with are known violent felons and suspected dealers. He had a girlfriend for about a year, but she left him because he started frequently screaming, throwing things around their apartment, and threatening to hurt her. It's obvious he's using again. He is slowly unraveling and throwing away years of progress. Our parents tried talking to him, offered rehab, offered for him to stay with them for some time. He flipped out at our parents, and after years of his crap, they simply walked away and blocked him for the time being. They spent years and countless dollars before and after his sentence to try and help him. They were done. I tried talking to him. His place was a mess and he had empty alcohol bottles and pill containers scattered around his place. He got hostile very quickly when I pointed out the obvious and threatened me. I snapped and brought up what he told us about his prison time and told him it would all be waiting for him again if he doesn't fix his act, and that this time his family won't be waiting to help clean up his mess. It shut him down super quickly, and he just curled up on a couch and weakly told me to leave. I felt terrible since I brought it up, but he is gladly throwing away years of progress for the same crap that got him in trouble in the first place. He knows what prison is like, and he is doing everything he can to go back there. He's spitting in the face of everyone who went to bat for him chasing the same heights that almost destroyed his life. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Tough love. Tough for you having to say it to your brother and tough for him being reminded of that time. Not a-hole. Not a-hole. Sometimes you just can't help the drowning man who's slapping you away from saving him. Even if they're family, they're not worth it, despite the emotional connection. There are thousands of people who are in your brother's position, and they're actively trying their darnest to stay on course for their family, friends, and themselves. Not a-hole. Somewhere along the lines, he fell back in with bad people who had him relapse, and somehow he compartmentalized his past prison trauma, probably to justify his relapse and tell himself it's okay. You are giving him a loud reminder to wake up if he doesn't want to go through all that again. It may be tough, he may think you're the a-hole, but he probably 100% needed to hear it. I hope he reaches out to you, since you seem to still be open to contact, and asks for help so he can get better again. Now for the first update. Last night, my brother got high and trashed his apartment. He punched holes in the walls, destroyed furniture, and busted windows. Utterly destroyed his place. He tried kicking a neighbor's door in and throw rocks through their window when they yelled they were calling the police, and threatened to unalive them. Police came. He tries fighting them and got himself beat badly. They took him to the hospital. He calmed down for enough time to call me to the hospital. It was unintelligible, but I got the gist of it. And yes, I shouldn't have gone to see him. But by the time he got there, he had lost his mind again and was in 4-point restraints. He was screaming and practically feral. I couldn't even get any words in before I decided to leave. From what I can gather from the cops there I talked to, they found a ton of drugs. He assaulted a police officer, destroyed his apartment, and damaged a neighbor's front door and window, threatened to end a neighbor, tried to escape arrest, hit a nurse, bit a tech, and to top it off, he was already in trouble for sending threats to his ex. So yeah, he's going back to prison for a much longer time. I'm done with him. Our parents are done. Everyone is done with him. And frankly, I'm very okay with that since I finally am free of the stress he brings. He didn't learn a damn thing. I'd ask for the family to get together and address how he is to be handled going forward. Make your wishes known and explicit. You'll want to address your no contact with them as well, so they don't let onto how to locate you or contact info should you happen to move. That's not an issue. To clarify, the only person I'm going no contact with is my brother. My parents and extended family are joining in going no contact with him. Congrats on your parents being done with him. My husband has a brother who has done that kind of stuff his whole life. In and out of prison, and almost certainly unalived their beloved uncle. Their parents worship the ground he walks on. Lifelong eternal golden child. He is the preferred invite to holiday events over my successful engineer husband and our family of 6. The evil one is older now and out of prison, currently living in the aging parents' home and running the show. I hope your family is great and loves him, and you can spend all the holidays at their place. F his parents. I hope they'll enjoy their old age in the hands of a psychopath who'll take all their pension off them. My mother covered up for my sister until the day she died, but my sister was nowhere like this. She was just an alcoholic that got enough DUIs to go to prison for a short time. Even then, our mother said she was in inpatient treatment. The golden child never does anything wrong. My mom went to prison for 4 years when I was 5. Grandma adopted me because my dad was not fit. I was never mad. Always made my whole schedule around going to see her on visit days, answering every single phone call. She got out, got back with my dad. 45 days later, she had to finish her sentence. She got 10 years total, but only had to serve 4. I will never forget jumping on my trampoline, being handed a phone and hearing her tell me she got drunk and high. I stopped jumping and told her I am done. I grew up that day. So no, you're not the a-hole. Some people never learn a thing, and they expect sympathy for having a pattern of horrible decisions. Now for the last update. It may not have been the best idea, but I decided to have one final talk with my brother the other day before I made my decision to cut him off. After his episode at a hospital, he has been locked up for the time being. No one has even attempted to bail him out. I have no idea about how charges or a trial are going, but it will take a while. As far as I can tell, there is some matter of determining a possible psych hold, but there's a lot of gray area with that, and I frankly don't have much of an idea how that works and won't get myself more involved to find out. We only got the chance to talk for a few minutes. I didn't visit. He called me over the phone. I straight up asked him what was going on. Why did he do this? What caused the slip the last few weeks? And the thing was, I was expecting some emotional response, a plea for help, maybe even some reasoning. But that didn't happen. Instead, he asked, why not? I asked what he meant by that, and he just kinda smugly laughed a little. He started rambling about how the bitch, his ex, should watch out for him when he gets out. I quickly reminded him that these calls are monitored, and he needs to watch his freaking mouth. He told me to go F myself, and he only called to see if I would post his bail. I was practically pleading, asking him why he was doing this. He got agitated, said he doesn't freaking care, started screaming how he doesn't need us. And you could hear him get into a scuffle with what I'm assuming was an officer watching him before the call got cut. I was practically speechless. He doesn't care, and maybe never did. Some people in the comments and DMs were making assumptions about myself and my parents, how he handled his behavior and mental health care. Ever since he was a kid, my parents spent every spare dime and minute of their lives trying to help him. Pediatric mental health care, therapy, group activities, extracurriculars, anything to try and steer him on the right path. They put me on a back burner for years because of him. Our relationship almost got tanked because they wanted to help him so much. When he got out of prison and had his breakdown, it was practically a clean slate for him. He never apologized for what he did. He didn't have to own up to his family for what he put us through. We all just tried to help. And he took the second chance people would crawl over broken glass for and threw it in our faces. Well, good for him. He gets what he wants, to be utterly alone in prison. I'm no fool. He likes to push us far and try and reel us back in. But after this, I am truly and utterly done. Our parents are in the process of removing him completely from their lives. They are livid. He's spending a much longer time in prison, and if he ever gets out and looks for someone to help him pick up the pieces of his life, he's going to be sorely disappointed. We try to help. He didn't want it. I'll answer some questions if anyone had any for a few days before torching the account. To be honest, I feel it would be wise to be sure that when/if he gets out, there is no one for him to come crawling to. I don't necessarily mean move, though that might be smart if it's possible to accomplish. Especially for the ex who was literally threatened in your conversation. But I think you and your parents, and everyone, need to make your worlds as though he no longer exists. He gets out. Family? He has none. These people don't know him. Friends? I'd be shocked if he had any before he landed his stupid butt back in prison, so that might not be an issue. But it's time to burn the final bridge. Torch it down. Ashes to ashes, OP. Honestly, I felt this so hard. My brother has been a lot like OP's, except he got into drugs early, and that has probably gave him mental health issues. He has stolen from family, friends, and has pushed everyone away due to him being on drugs. He skipped out on the bail my mom posted for him, and then when caught, wanted me to pay for his bail, but I said no. I say that because he only half-heartedly apologizes about it, but then a minute later will ask for something from you. He only cares about himself, and doesn't care about anyone else. Not even his kids. Unfortunately, by the time he gets out to the 2030s, our mother will more than likely be dead, and his kids might have kids of their own. He finally figured out that his actions have consequences. Some people are just born like that. It's not something that happened to them. We haven't really been able to find interventions to bring them back to live safely in the human community, and these people vacillate between outrage that they don't get to do whatever they want, and depression because their life sucks. And they cannot or will not grasp why. You all really tried. Now it's up to him to either stay in the system or get it together. Last story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my in-laws out of my house after they disrespected my late father's memory? I, 25 female, lost my father a year ago. He was the kindest person in the world and worked as an EMT. He died after being hit by a drunk driver while trying to help another driver with a car trouble. He was my hero and a huge part of my life. He became a widower father to me when I was 7, and he was the best dad anybody could ever ask for. To honor his memory, I keep a small shrine in our living room with his photo, some of his belongings, and a few of his favorite things, along with his urn. It brings me comfort and helps me feel like he's still with me. My husband, 30 male, has always been supportive of this, but his parents, both in their 60s, have never understood. They think it's morbid and unhealthy to keep such a display. They've made their opinions known multiple times, but I've always brushed it off, explaining it helps me cope. This past weekend, my in-laws came to visit. From the moment they arrived, they were making snide comments about the shrine. My mother-in-law said, "It's time to let go of the past." And my father-in-law chimed in with, "It's not good for your mental health to live in a museum of grief." I told them, firmly but politely, that the shrine stays and is not up for discussion. Things escalated quickly. When I left the room to take a phone call, they decided to take matters into their own hands. I walked back in to find them packing away my father's things into a box. I was livid. I told them to stop immediately and put everything back. They refused, saying they were helping me move on. I lost it. I yelled at them to get out of my house. My mother-in-law started crying, saying I was ungrateful and that they were just trying to help. My father-in-law called me hysterical and said I was disrespecting them. My husband tried to mediate, but I was too furious to listen. I told them they had no right to touch my father's things and that they were not welcome in my home if they couldn't respect my boundaries. I discovered as I was putting things back that some of my belongings I had placed on a shrine were gone. A small stuffed cat, his mat for Magic the Gathering, and a shot glass from screeching in when I went to Newfoundland with my mom before she died of cancer. All 3 things have very low value monetarily, but a lot of sentimental value. My husband has told me I'm overreacting over a molehill, and that I'm just sensitive because I was a daddy's girl when my dad was alive. I'm having a hard time letting go of my dad because we were so close. He was literally my best friend for the last 5 years of his life. I may be so swamped in my own grief that I was an a-hole over nothing. I'm confused and sad. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. I would be on my way to the local police department to get a no trespassing and to find out if what they did was considered a form of grave desecration, since this is literally where you have his ashes and the things he would have been buried with, had that been the route you chose. My next stop would be a lawyer to file for legal separation, since husband thinks it is fine for his parents to steal a dead person's effects. Your husband is the biggest a-hole here. He doesn't have your back. He let his parents put your father's belongings into a box while you were out of the room. They stole objects, and your husband is telling you that you are the problem? Screw him. Not the a-hole. I think he may have instigated it. He may have complained, and his parents decided to take action. It is telling that he allowed it. My brother used to pull that same nonsense before he ended up divorced. Complain to mommy about wife. Mom comes to the rescue. Mom is the bad guy. Brother plays dumb. Is this the case here? Not a-hole. And F them all. Husband too. They're guests. They do not have the right to rearrange a single photo on a mantelpiece, let alone pack up and steal, /lose, /break sentimental items. You can grieve as you choose. It is absolutely not their place to decide, while you are out of the room, to do anything like this. It's a year. Just a year. And it's not like you have given the whole house over to your wonderful father, or are living in a darkened room dressed all in black. This is a hill to die on, OP. Your husband is being so wrong. You being a daddy's girl makes his loss harder to bear, so he should have more compassion. Sorry for your loss, Hopi. I hope hubby can do something to save his own reputation with you, so he's not lost too. Also find out who took your property and get it back. Tell your in-laws that you will call the cops if your belongings are not returned by tonight. And sit hubby down and tell him in no uncertain terms will you let them in the house. If your husband can't support you in this, tell him to go back to his disrespectful parents. I'm sorry, OP, for your loss, and hugs from an internet stranger. I'm wondering if this was the reason for the visit all along, with the husband being in on it. Maybe I'm just too cynical about this, but it seems too abrupt to be a spur-of-the-moment action. How did they suddenly come up with a box? right? Like they thought it was some kind of intervention and the husband grossly miscalculated. Yeah, I agree with this line of thought. OP, you're not the a-hole here and we all think your husband was part of this plan. Tell them you'll be calling the police if your belongings aren't immediately returned to you in their original condition, and tell your a-hole husband he's welcome to go home to mommy if your dad's memory is too intimidating for him to live with. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend that he can't date younger and then get upset about my budget apartment? So I recently got together with a guy for my hobby. He asked me out first, and I had some doubts that we'd work together as a couple because of the age difference. He's 35 and I'm 22. So in my apartment, since it's an old house that was originally a single-family house, there isn't much soundproofing and the floors creak when people move. I've gotten used to the sound of the guy upstairs getting up at 4 a.m. since he starts work at 5, and the sound of the girls in the apartments to either side of mine watching telenovelas till midnight, taking work calls all day and having friends over on weekend nights. I know when I play music or have friends over, some of the sounds leak through the walls. So I never get upset about hearing my neighbors because it goes both ways. So, when my boyfriend started coming over more often, he had complaints about the neighbors, which put me in an awkward place. He wanted to go speak to them or have me text them and I said no. For example, one of the early times he stayed over, we went to bed around 10. He wanted me to ask my neighbor to turn down her TV. I said she didn't have it that loud, and she turns it off at midnight anyway. At 4 a.m. he got very irritated with my upstairs neighbor getting up and cooking breakfast. I said that he would be done by 5 because that's when his shift starts. At 7 a.m., he was still trying to sleep in, and the neighbor on the other side had some work calls and that he said he couldn't sleep through. I offered him earplugs and he said he couldn't sleep with them in either. He wanted me to ask her to quiet down. He had similar comments every time he heard someone else in the building just living their lives, especially if it was when he was in bed. I got frustrated with my boyfriend and told him, you can't expect to date a hot young 22-year-old and not want to deal with a 22-year-old's living situation. I don't know if you realize, but this is a normal apartment for someone my age. Hell, my neighbors are pretty great. Nobody's throwing loud parties on work nights. Nobody's having screaming fights. Nobody's having babies. The hot young part was in sarcastic air quotes because those were his words, not mine. He got irritated and asked why I was bringing age into it. And I said it's because he can't both want someone so young and also want someone with house kind of money. And he was being so out of touch with how normal people in their 20s live. He got really irritated with me bringing age into it, and even more annoyed when I'd respond to his neighbor complaints in the future with, "Okay, boomer," or tell him that if he wanted me to have a rich person apartment, he could pay for it. Am I the a-hole for what I said to my boyfriend about my apartment? Edit. A lot of comments are asking if we could stay at his house. It's not possible for me to get to his house on my own because I don't have a car, and the buses don't go that far into the suburbs. So that would mean him driving 30 minutes from his house in the suburbs to pick me up, then an extra 30 to drive me to his house, then an hour round trip early in the morning to get me home in time for work. It's a lot easier for him to visit me in the city. Edit 2. A lot of people in the comments are saying technically 35 is a millennial and not a boomer. I know that. I'm using boomer as a joke, or a figure of speech to say, acting out of touch and entitled to tell other people what to do. It is a common figure of speech to say, "Okay, boomer," to someone who is acting entitled regardless of their actual age. It's more of a mindset thing. Now for the top comments before reading the little update. I don't know, man. I think your initial instinct that this wouldn't work out was right, but for more reasons than just age. He seems to have a very low tolerance for mild inconvenience. Not stay home. Yeah, as someone in their 30s who still likes apartment living, I get the impression this dude wants a level of soundproofing that isn't possible. Period. If you can hear people taking work calls, watching TV, and making breakfast, the soundproofing is just bad. I empathize with him because I hated apartment living. I felt like I could never live my life because I'd be a bother to my neighbors. And conversely, I would get annoyed at my neighbors when the fault really lies with the horrible landlords that build these buildings as cheap as possible and give not a single damn about sound control between units. Not stay home. Do you know why a 35-year-old dates a 22-year-old? Because women his age don't put up with this childish behavior, but a 22-year-old is more likely to be easily guilt-tripped. Good on you for standing up for yourself. Honestly, you might have a common hobby, but you're in a very different places in your life, which can make a relationship difficult if you're not both ready to be understanding. Living in an apartment comes with that burden of hearing other people. I point out to him that they probably hear you all being intimate, but they don't bother you about it. If you can hear that much of what's going on in their apartment, they can hear just as much of what's going on in yours. Not stay home. Women his age don't put up with that behavior. His family in the suburb house she's never been to might. I didn't want to jump straight to her being the other woman. Yep, that's exactly what I thought. And now for the little update. I googled his property records for his house and he co-owns it with a woman who shares his last name. Holy cow. I don't know if she's his wife or ex-wife or what, but I'm out of here. I'm honestly freaking out right now, but I just gotta say, great big thank you to everyone who noticed red flags and made me question that. I've blocked his number. He can have fun figuring out where I went. Next story. Am I the a-hole for embarrassing my boyfriend when we split the bill at a fancy restaurant? I'm 25, my boyfriend is 35, and we have been together for almost exactly 3 years. And a funny coincidence, both of our birthdays and our anniversary, the day we met, all happen in the same week. This year, we decided he would organize a surprise for my birthday. I would organize a surprise for his birthday. And then for our anniversary, we would go out together for a nice dinner to celebrate. We discussed budget in advance, and we agreed that we would split the cost of the dinner. It was a set tasting menu, so we knew the exact price ahead of time. My birthday did not go well. My boyfriend lied to me about taking the day off work and kept disappearing to the bathroom to answer emails and make calls when we were at the museum together. I didn't ask or expect him to take the day off. I'd have been fine doing something in the evening. Then for my present, he gave me a pastry made of a specific ingredient that I'm allergic to, so I couldn't eat it. Then he left at 8 p.m. because he wanted to watch a football game, so I ended up spending my birthday night alone. The next day, I told him I felt like he'd given zero thought to my birthday, and it made me feel like I was a burden on him. He just said he'd done his best, and I need to learn to be grateful when other people try. His birthday went off without any issue. I had specialty food and wine shipped in from his home country, got his favorite childhood recipes from his grandmother, and spent several days preparing a dinner built around his preferences and dietary requirements. He loved it. Then came our anniversary. We agreed in advance to split the bill, but by then I was hoping that he'd offer to cover it. Not because of the money, but as a gesture of apology for how my birthday went. At the end of dinner, I asked if he still wanted to split. He replied, "Yeah, but it would look weird if we ask for separate checks since this is a nice place. So I'll pay here and you can transfer me the money afterwards." I honestly saw red. When the waitress came over with the bill, I said, "We'll actually be splitting." She asked how we wanted to split, and I said I'd pay for the wine and my food. So in total, I paid for about 70% of the bill. My boyfriend just shrugged and paid for the remaining amount. As soon as we left, he said I humiliated him and acted like a spoiled brat, and he couldn't change the past, and I need to learn to move on when I'm annoyed. I said my issue wasn't about changing the past, but one, he hadn't even properly apologized for my birthday or tried to make up for it in any way. And 2, he cared more about the restaurant staff thinking that he was a big spender treating me to a fancy dinner, when I'd actually be paying for half of the meal. He said I'm the a-hole because we agreed to split the bill, so I had no right to be annoyed about it. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Just tell him that you did your best and he needs to be grateful when people try. He's clearly putting in no effort, and that's what should humiliate him. Yep. 1, he lied to you about taking a day off, even though, as you said, he didn't need to. 2, he didn't give you attention when you were together. Bad enough. But on your birthday? 3, he couldn't care enough to get you a gift with any thought. I was done with him when he got you a pastry you were allergic to. 4. He had zero interest in planning/taking you to a meal in the evening. 5. Ditched you for a football game. 6. He knows it would look weird to split in the stands, so wants to use you as a cover for himself, instead of doing the right thing. 7. He emotionally guilt/shames and tries to manipulate you. Girl, get out. Find someone who thinks you are important and gets as much joy out of making you feel as special as the effort you put in to make him feel special. You are a rock star, importing favorite wines, making grandma's recipes. I love doing the same kinds of things for people. Gift giving is one of my 5 love languages to others. And this guy's idea of a gift is a croissant? Please don't misunderstand me. If that's a special favorite of someone, then that's thoughtful, like going to an out-of-the-way bakery to get a pastry as a surprise treat that I mentioned once. Or where we went to the first/special date could thrill me, but this was clearly not. If we are broke students and that's what you get me because you know I love it and I know that's a chunk of your weekly money, it would still be sweet. This was just pure laziness and cheapness at 35. He could have saved a few dollars a week for a couple of months since he knew your birthday was coming. This guy could not possibly care less. I would be so out of there. You would be the a-hole to yourself only if you stay with him. Your boyfriend couldn't care less about your birthday and only cared about image at the anniversary dinner. I'd hate to find out what his bad qualities are. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for taking away my wife's car keys because she took away my TV? I've always split my income 50-50 with my wife. She is religious, Baptist, but I'm not. This has never been a problem for us. Until this summer when I got a large raise at my job and I started buying things that she claimed were greedy and consumerist. I just told her I'm using my share of the income and I can buy what I want. I thought that was over her. But last weekend, I finally got a PS5 and bought a 65-inch 8K QLED TV. In total, it was about $5,000. I was really excited to watch the Super Bowl with my friends on it. I'm hosting a little party this year. But my wife was furious. She thought it was a terrible decision, and she didn't care I used my own money. When I came home from work on Monday, today is Thursday, my wife said she took away my TV. And sure enough, it was gone. I looked everywhere for it, but we have a modest 3-bedroom house, so who knows where it is now. I haven't been arguing with her for 4 days, and she's not budging, so this morning I finally snapped. I took away her car keys and also removed her tires. I told her I'll do the grocery shopping and our kids will be fine since they ride a bus, but I'm not giving her that car back until she gets me my TV. She's obviously furious, but the Super Bowl is in 3 days, and I'll be damned if I'm letting her control what makes me happy. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Everyone sucks here. You two should not be married to each other. But are there other people out there that deserve to have to be married to either of them? Not the a-hole. Justified a-hole, really. Yes, I accept your downvotes. Your wife unilaterally made a decision about what I am assuming is fun money. What you did in retaliation was after asking her about it for 4 days. It's petty as hell, and I'm here for it. Agree. What she did was not cool and she has made no effort to act reasonable. Not a-hole. Spending $5,000 without consent from your spouse is also not cool. He said they split his income 50-50. Which means he has his own spending money and doesn't need to consult her before making a purchase with his portion of the money. If he's giving her half of his money and she has no job, I'm sure this guy can afford a $5,000 TV and PS5 purchase. I'm assuming he has a good job and pays the bills. Everyone sucks here. You two are not partners and you don't even appear to like each other. Do either of you have the ability to sit down and communicate like actual adults? You two are immature and incompatible and should really just divorce. Sitting down and communicating was something I gave her the option to do most of this week, but she needs to accept that too. It doesn't work with only one participant. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for ruining my wife's work and eating the food before she could take pictures of it? My wife runs a website dedicated for cooking and recipes. She takes pictures of food before we eat, whether it's lunch or dinner, and posts them on her Instagram account. To be honest, I'm annoyed by having to wait so long for her to get the perfect shot of the food after decorating it, adding this fork and removing that salad dish. It just takes so long that I lose my appetite from just waiting till she's done. This has become the norm, but yesterday I decided I was having none of it. I came to find that she has cooked an entire feast as her next cooking project and put it on the table. Note that by looking at the whole table setting, I figured pictures had already been taken, right? But no. She said she was going to take few pictures and I had to wait. She went upstairs to get her camera, and that's when I grabbed the spoon and started filling my plates from every dish she's made, and ruining the look as a result. I was hungry and unwilling to wait around for 10 plus to eat. She came downstairs, saw the damage, and blew up almost crying, saying I just ruined her cooking project that she worked hours for as well as putting efforts into. I said I was hungry and couldn't wait, but she kept yelling how much of an obnoxious jerk I was for not waiting till she took pictures of the dishes she made. Even said that this was an attempt of me to sabotage her success. I said, oh please, enough with those conspiracy theories. I'm just hungry and couldn't wait till she got the perfect shot. We had a big argument and she went upstairs crying. I finished my food then went out to cool off a bit. When I returned, she'd threatened that she'll never have me eat anything she cooks and said she'd rather throw it in the garbage than give it to an ungrateful, obnoxious jerk like me. I said this wasn't cool, but she told me to go screw myself. I said fine, then went to spend the night at the guest room. She texted me the word jerk about 15 times till I turned my phone off. Today she has gone complete radio silence. Am I the a-hole? Jerk. You're the a-hole. My wife cooks elaborate meals for me on a regular basis. I don't have to do anything, not even set the table, except wait for her to finish preparing the meal, which includes photographing it. I think making me wait 10 extra minutes along with the hours it took her to make it while did nothing is too high a price to pay. Am I the a-hole? Yes, you are. My favorite part was him somehow needing to cool off as if she had done anything to him, and he had anything in the world to be upset about. I don't know if I even believe this post is real because it reads like a 14-year-old wrote it, but I do hope that fresh air helped Opie calm down from having gotten what he wanted. That must have been so upsetting for him. You're the a-hole. What the actual heck? Sounds like this is her job or at minimum an important hobby. Keep a Lunchable and a juice box in the fridge for when you need to act like a child. This comment made me snort laugh. You're the a-hole, OP, for Pete's sake. You're the a-hole. Dude, she worked hard on it and you couldn't wait a few minutes while she took pictures? If you can't stand to wait, then make your own food. You did do it to sabotage her since you knew that she hadn't taken any photos yet. Apologize to your wife.